If you have already watched this introductory information, you can skip ahead no more than 10 minutes. Hello, welcome. I am predicting that Vice President Kamala Harris will die in a plane crash in St. Louis due to a bird strike into Busch Stadium. In the area code 314, it will be a burning bush, as described in Exodus 3:14, on November 27, 2024. She will be replaced by Michelle Obama, and then Barack Obama will replace Michelle. I am predicting that former President Jimmy Carter will die on November 17th. It is predicted that President Trump will die from a heart attack on December 12th, 2024. It is also predicted that Trump's heart attack will be triggered by a directed energy weapon that will target Trump through Bluetooth technology. The components inside the pointy thing that Trump took will facilitate this, and it is believed that when Barack Obama is sitting next to Trump at Jimmy Carter's funeral, Obama will obtain Trump's Bluetooth MAC address, which will be used to target Trump with a directed energy weapon. I am predicting that dirty bombs will explode in Manhattan, New York City, and there will be a large-scale evacuation on December 16th. I am predicting that Israel will bomb Iran on December 17th. Israel will nuke and completely destroy Damascus, Syria on December 26th, 2024. It is predicted that after Kamala Harris's death in a plane crash, Joe Biden will appoint Michelle Obama as his vice president. On December 17th, the Democrat Party will use their electoral votes to make Michelle Obama the president-elect. It is predicted that on either December 22nd or 25th, Joe Biden will suffer a stroke. It is predicted that on December 26th, 2024, Joe Biden will step down and Vice President Michelle Obama will become the 47th president. It is predicted that on December 26th, Michelle Obama will appoint Barack Obama as the 51st vice president. On January 12th, 2025, Michelle Obama will step down and Barack Obama will become the 48th president. His public inauguration ceremony will be on January 20th, 2025. The San Francisco 49ers will win the Super Bowl in the 6th plus 6th plus 6th state to join the Union on February 9th, 2025, and will become the third team to win 6 Super Bowls, which hints at 3 sixes. San Francisco points to Pope Francis, the first of 2 antichrists in Bible prophecy. It is predicted that on April 20th, 2025, there will be an outbreak of monkeypox or Marburg disease or both. April 20th will be a symbolic beginning to a new pandemic. June 8th, 2025, the true Feast of Pentecost in the calendar that watches for new moons, will be the day of the resurrection rapture event. It is predicted that on June 9th, the day after the rapture, the key will open the bottomless pit and fallen angels will cross over into the earthly realm. June 9th will be a symbolic beginning to the 5th trumpet judgment that is described in Revelation chapter 9, when the demonic realm collides with the earthly realm. June 9th will be a symbolic beginning to demons pretending to be aliens, and it is possible that June 9th will be the day Pope Francis will announce that aliens have arrived and have made him the ambassador for the world. This will immediately give Pope Francis, the Antichrist, supreme power over governments of the world. At some point, there will be a massive Mary apparition that will deceive the masses, because all Mary apparitions in history have been demons pretending to be Mary. June 9th will be a symbolic beginning to a zombie pandemic and the masses becoming demonically possessed that will be facilitated through the thing, which is the mark of the Antichrist and 5G frequencies. June 9th will be a symbolic beginning to the coming genocide politicide in America. I am predicting that singer-songwriter Paul Simon will die on August 1st, 2025. It is predicted that on August 6th, 2025, the historic barge that has been stuck on the rocks of the Niagara River for over 100 years will finally break free and crash over Niagara Falls. The reason for this is that Niagara Falls is Noah's flood symbolism, and the barge was involved in the most dramatic rescue in the history of Niagara Falls, symbolic of Noah's Ark. Niagara in the native language means straight, narrow way, and Niagara's Horseshoe Falls is perfectly aimed at the CN Tower in downtown Toronto, because Toronto and its tower are symbolic of the Tower of Babel. In a game of horseshoes, the object is to aim the horseshoe and throw it at the metal stick, which is why the Horseshoe Falls is perfectly aimed at the metal stick that is the CN Tower. God is communicating that as testament for those who will live in the 1,000 years of Christ's reign on earth, the geography of North America will, as a result of a massive earthquake, be divided by a body of water from the Great Lakes to the Mississippi Delta. This destruction will be judgment on America and Canada for attempting to divide God's land, Israel. When this happens, the water in the Great Lakes will spill out over southern Ontario and Toronto. I am predicting that a solar flare will erupt on the surface of the sun and send a coronal mass ejection that will hit Earth on August 13th, 2025, which will knock out America's power grid and will lead to food shortages. The hit of the coronal mass ejection, predicted for August 13th, that will knock out the power grid will also knock many planes out of the sky. I am predicting that on August 23rd, 2025, there will be a catastrophic asteroid hit of Earth, which will trigger the eruption of Yellowstone volcano and will cause the volcano in the Canary Islands to collapse into the Atlantic Ocean and send a mega tsunami towards the east coast. The asteroid will also trigger a mega landslide on Hawaii Island that will trigger a mega tsunami that will hit the west coast. It will also trigger the collapse of the Hoover Dam, which will cause a water panic in California, and many other devastating earthquakes. The day of the Lord, the second coming of Lord Jesus Christ, Judgment Day, will be on the Day of Atonement, October 1st, 2025. The date that this video is posted proves that these predictions are being made ahead of time, as do these time-stamped emails and forensic notes PDF documents. If you are skeptical for some reason, please email me and I will forward these to you. Believe me, I know far better than you how the prediction made in this video was derived. And more importantly, I know far better than you why the righteous Christian God of the Bible has given me a voice through this prediction. If you are a quote-unquote Christian or Muslim, this prediction was not learned through a demon. Be warned that blaspheming the Holy Spirit is the unforgivable sin. If you are a New Ager or New Spirituality person, this prediction was not learned through somehow tapping into the supposed universal collective consciousness. If you are a conspiracy theorist, this prediction was not learned through figuring out a supposed code that the Illuminati and Satanists are using. This prediction was learned through the Bible and through watching carefully the Lord's prophetic signs, which Jesus commanded all Christians to do. Besides proving that Jesus Christ is the Lord, the reason why God has given me a voice through this prediction is to prove that the controversial things that I am saying in the videos on this channel are the truth. Therefore, a wise person will want to watch all of the videos on this channel. What I will also do is create a video or two that summarizes some of the controversial things that the Lord will prove to be true when the prediction being made in this video comes to pass. I will leave links to these must-watch videos in the description box below this video. Again, the purpose of this prediction, that is from God, is to prove these things that I will talk about. And therefore, it would be foolish to not watch the videos that I will leave links for in the description box below this video. Make a note right now of these alternative platforms that you can find me on, in case you can't find me later. All right, God was pointing to November 4th ahead of time. November 4th ended up being another step in the trail of signs regarding the coming predicted death of Jimmy Carter, which is now predicted to be on November 17th. 13 days after this date, November 4th, which God was pointing to ahead of time. This diagram will be a brief explanation for some of what happened regarding the prophetic signs on November 4th that confirmed all of the analysis, and how this confirms that Jimmy Carter will die on November 17th. I will explain this as briefly as possible, and to do so, I'm just going to read something that I wrote regarding this, and at the same time, I will be pointing to the diagram from time to time. So, prior to November 4th, it was expected that either Jimmy Carter would die, or there would be a related prophetic sign or signs plural. In God's signs, Carter is king symbolism. Jimmy Carter, again, in God's signs is king symbolism. He is being used as a parallel with the prophecy in the book of Revelation regarding the kings. This has been explained in other videos. Okay, and that's why on this date, November 4th, that we were expecting a Jimmy Carter sign in advance of the date, was the death of the king of music. Now, these aren't my words. This is the words of pop culture. The culture has called Quincy Jones the king of music, and he was called this before he died as well, because of his long career in many aspects of music. He is one of a handful of people that have won a Grammy, an Oscar, an Emmy, and a Tony Award, for example, all for his work in music that spanned 7 decades. Okay, so he's the king of music. Let's just leave it at that. The thing that he's most known for, though, is bringing the child star Michael Jackson into becoming the king of pop with his production for the albums Off the Wall, Thriller, and Bad. Okay, so Quincy Jones is also known for the king of pop. That's more king symbolism. Okay, and Michael Jackson is known as MJ, and the initials MJ are equal to 23 in simple English gematria. And God does this with MJ for this purpose, because the Antichrist, who is also from Chicago, just like Michael Jackson and the family are from Chicago, a suburb of Chicago, the Antichrist from Chicago is the basketball president who wore jersey number 23 in high school. Just like MJ, Michael Jordan, wore number 23 for Chicago. Well, in God's signs, he pairs certain numbers together to confirm the signs and connections. And this is how God's true big picture of signs, patterns, and connections works, which is only being explained on this channel. It works on the principle of second and third and multiple witnesses confirming a matter as the Bible says is required. And this is what makes what is being explained on this channel true and not a product of one's imagination and different and unique than everything else on the internet that claims to be an analysis of God's prophetic signs. And if we think about it, one simple way in which he would provide a second witness for us is through pairing certain numbers together, such as 23 and 44. And I know this because I have been studying his big picture of signs from morning until night for more than full-time hours for 7 years. And that is because the basketball president who wore 23 is the 44th president. And that's why this MJ sign here, which is the death of Quincy Jones, it is essentially a Michael Jackson sign, was 44 days after this Michael Jackson sign, which was also on a date that was expected in advance to be related to Jimmy Carter. Now, I have explained in another video dedicated to these signs, the Thriller video on this channel, how this is all relevant. I've also mentioned this in other videos that have explained the trail of signs leading from July 1st to November 4th that passed through September 21st. And that was the day of this Michael Jackson sign, which I won't explain. But again, this is another MJ sign, and that's also more confirmation for this 44 days. The signs, as I have explained, indicated adding 5 days to get us to this date, which was Hurricane Helene, which was 39 days to this date, which is the 309th day of the calendar year, which was a date known in advance to be related to the coming death of the 39th president. Now, not only was this date 44 days after this MJ sign, it was also exactly 4 times 4 years after the election of the Antichrist king, the 44th president, Barack Obama. It was through the 8th Atlantic storm in history to be named Beryl, which hinted at Barry, which hit the U.S. on the 8th of the month of July, that it was revealed that Jimmy Carter is symbolic of Methuselah. Quincy Jones, the king of music, died on November 4th, which was exactly 8 weeks after the death of James Earl Jones, the voice of the Lion King. November 4th was also 88 days after the date 88, when Hurricane Debbie, as in Debbie and Beryl, as in Deborah and Barak in the Bible, hit the 8th state on the day of the announced retirement of the 88th player selected in his draft. I've explained the relevance of that in another video, which was in turn, this date 88 was in turn exactly 88 days after the song Hurricane was sung by the Israeli singer at the Eurovision finals on the date 5/12, May 12th, which hinted at 512, which is 8 times 8 times 8. Okay, and that's all relevant again because this is how we know that Jimmy Carter is Methuselah, because of this revelation through this number 8, which is explained in other videos. Well, the 8th stone in the book of Revelation, Beryl, is G969 in Strong's Greek Concordance, and Methuselah died at the age of 969. Long story short. Now, Jimmy Carter was the 39th president, and November 4th was the 309th day of the calendar year, and was 39 days after Hurricane Helene, which was 80 days after the 8th storm in history to be named Beryl on the 8th of the month. Quincy Jones died on November 4th, exactly 800 weeks, which is here in this diagram, after the memorial for Michael Jackson that was viewed by over 1 billion people. The finale of the memorial was a performance of the best-selling single in history, and God uses records for his signs. Michael Jackson and Quincy Jones's Thriller was the best-selling album in history, and the finale of Michael Jackson's memorial after he died was a performance of the best-selling single in history that was written by Michael Jackson and produced by Quincy Jones. We Are the World, which was in turn exactly 8,888 days after the single We Are the World was released. And by the way, 8,888 days hints at 4 eighths, and the 48th president, the predicted Antichrist king. And that's what is symbolized with "we are the world." He will be a leader of the world, and it is the world that is Antichrist. Right? People have this mistaken belief that all people are God's children. This is not the Bible, nor is it in the Bible that God loves all people. That's also false, and it is very counterproductive for quote-unquote Christians to be telling other people this. God does not love all people. The rare instances of God's love in the Bible are always in the context of the redeemed. In fact, God hates, and there are enemies of God that are people. Okay? So anyway, including, for example, the Antichrist, the future 48th president. Okay? And so that's the 800 weeks that followed the 8,888 days after the release of the "We Are the World," and the memorial that was finished with the performance of "We Are the World," which brings us to the death of the king of music, Quincy Jones. "We Are the World" was released under the name USA for Africa. Its goal was to raise money for food and aid for famine-stricken Ethiopia. The recording session was held on the night of the American Music Awards on the date 1/28 in 1985. 85 hints at the 5th through 8th king's prophecy that identifies the Antichrist, who will lead during a period of starvation. Also, by the way, it was in 85 that the Antichrist moved to Chicago after the communist organization named May 19th Communist Organization disbanded, which Barack Obama was a member of, which was responsible, by the way, for bombing the Capitol building in 1983. After the communist organization was disbanded, Barack Obama decided to move to Chicago, the home of his real father, Frank Marshall Davis, to pursue in his father's footsteps his communist activism on the streets of Chicago. The recording session for the famine-stricken Ethiopia was on the date 1/28, which hints at G128 in Strong's Greek Concordance, which is the word that means the Ethiopian, which identifies Barack Obama, who was born in East Africa near Ethiopia. Yes, although his true biological father was Frank Marshall Davis, he was born in East Africa in Kenya, and under the pretense that Barack Obama Sr. was his father, because he wanted to be able to pursue his doctorate in the U.S., and so he went along with the lie that he impregnated Barack Obama's mother, when he in fact didn't. And this was all to save Barack Obama's grandfather's job, who was a spook in the CIA, assigned to watch the communist organization in Hawaii, and that's how the paths of Barack Obama's mother and Frank Marshall Davis crossed. Anyway, the point is that this prophetic sign, which was this recording of the song for Ethiopia on the date 1/28, hints at the Ethiopian G128 in Strong's Concordance, and that's all in order to identify the Antichrist, who was born in East Africa near Ethiopia. On the date 3/22 in 2024, this date right here in the diagram, Candace Owens, prophetically exclaimed with a tweet, I believe, "I'm free!" exclamation mark. Okay, that was her post. "I'm free!" exclamation mark. That's a quote. This post came after she was dismissed from the company she worked for due to her remarks over Gaza. The Ethiopian in the book of Acts is the representative Queen Candace of Egypt. Philip encountered the Ethiopian in Gaza. Philip was told to go to Gaza, go south to Gaza, and there he met the Ethiopian in the book of Acts. That was before he was raptured, which is the reason for the I'm free reference with Candace Owens. March 22nd, 2024 is 7 months and 13 days before Quincy Jones died at the age of 7 times 13, 91. The rapture is an award for God's faithful. Okay, Quincy Jones died at the age of 7 times, Quincy Jones was nominated in his lifetime for 7 Oscar awards, and 13 days after his death, he is due to receive his first Oscar in honor of his lifetime's work with music in movies. Okay? So what I'm saying here is that the reason why he died at the age of 7 times 13, 7 months and 13 days after Candace Owens' I'm free quote, which hinted at the Ethiopian. And again, Quincy Jones is known for Ethiopia because of We Are the World. So 7 months and 13 days gets us to the death of Quincy Jones at the age of 7 times 13. And he was nominated for 7 Oscars. And that's why it's 13 days to the date he is due to receive now posthumously his Oscar for his lifetime's work in movies with music. Okay, so in other words, that's confirmation here. You're following? All of this is confirmation that Jimmy Carter, or rather the signs here with the death of Quincy Jones, is revealing adding 13 days to get the predicted death of Jimmy Carter, because God pointed to this date for Jimmy Carter, and it was a step in the trail, and so we were looking for the revelation for where to go now, and that is being revealed as being 13 days because of what I have just explained. There's more, though. Quincy Jones was known for having a career that spanned 7 decades that began when he was 13 years old, okay? He's talked about this in interviews, how his career began when he was 13 years old and it spanned 7 decades. So that's another 7 and 13, which is confirmed with the second witness of the age at which he died, which is 7 times 13. But also, by the way, 91, the age he died, is the 13th triangular number. I forgot to mention that. And also the 7th hexagonal number. So it's another 7 and 13. And 91 is not any other polygon number. It is only a triangular and a hexagonal, and it is the 13th triangular and 7th hexagonal. That's another 7 and 13. In addition to his 7 decades career that began at the age of 13, and his age of being 7 times 13, and his death 7 months and 13 days after this Ethiopia sign, which was the Candace Owens sign. All right. Now, also, he has 7 children. That's another 7. So that's also a pairing with this 13 as what I am getting at here with. Now, the actor Dan Aykroyd accidentally ended up singing in the chorus in We Are the World. He is seen in the back row of the video that was We Are the World. Dan Aykroyd isn't known to be a singer. He was accidentally there because of his long story. Let's just move on. So We Are the World was released. Okay, We Are the World was released, this date right here. Although it's not in the diagram, it was released 272 days after the release of the movie Ghostbusters. This is because God is using this number 272 to point to H272 in Strong's Hebrew Concordance, which is the word that means seized possession. There will be a mass demonic possession next year, symbolically beginning on June 9th. The demons will deceive many into believing a promise of immortality that is symbolized by Genesis 3:22. Okay, that's the reason for Candace Owens' exclamation, "I'm free," on the date 3/22. Okay, which was also the date of the release of the most recent Ghostbusters movie, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. The date 322 in 2024 was also 32 weeks and 2 days before Quincy Jones died, which hints at Genesis 3:22. As well, on 322 this year was the deadliest mass shooting in history, and mass shootings in God's signs are symbolism for the pointy things that will be used to promise immortality in the near future. The shooting, because things that come out of guns and go into people are symbolic of things that come out of things and go into people, the SHOTs, right? The shooting was in Russia because it hints at fools rush in, right? The Russian shooting, Fools Rush In by Elvis Presley, who is himself also symbolic of pointy things, because he promoted the pointy thing back in, I think it was 1956, for the press in front of cameras. He took a pointy thing for POLIO right before he went on and performed on the Ed Sullivan Show, and that made a huge impact in the history of the thing industry. Arguably, the thing industry wouldn't be what it is today without Elvis Presley doing this, and because it changed the minds or made it acceptable or cool for the baby boomer generation to take these pointy things. Okay, so anyway, that's why God uses Elvis Presley and his signs here for this purpose, one reason. And this is also relevant with related to Quincy Jones, because Quincy Jones has famously said that he is proud that he never worked with Elvis Presley. He worked with Frank Sinatra, for example. His career goes back that far, before even Elvis Presley, but he has made it a point to claim that he is proud that he never worked with Elvis Presley, all right? As explained, Carter is symbolic of Methuselah, and there were a number of profound connections to November 4th involving Noah's flood symbolism. I've explained some of it, the hurricane connections. The flood began on the date 217, and November 4th is 217 days before the symbolic beginning of the mass demonic possession on June 9th, 2025. Okay, now on November 17th, which by the way hints at Barack Obama, because it hints at 1117, and H1117 in Strong's Hebrew Concordance is the word Bama, all right? Quincy, on this date, Quincy Jones will posthumously receive his Oscar award for his career in movies that spanned 55 years. This date, 1117, will be 5 plus 5 days, which is hinted at with the 55 years, before it is predicted that Kamala Harris will die near the I-55 highway in St. Louis, which will be 23 days after the news of Quincy Jones's death. And Quincy Jones was most known for his work with MJ. MJ equals 23 in simple English gematria, okay? Okay, so this date here is 23 days from this date. I don't have that in the diagram. And by the way, one reason why it was known before November 4th even that Kamala Harris would die on this date is this 23 days connection. It was one of the confirmations. And that is, again, because this date is also the 4 times 4th anniversary of the election of the 44th president. And as I explained earlier, God pairs 44 and 23 together to confirm the signs and connections. Now, to finish this diagram, there's just this, I think. This connection here between this Ethiopian sign and Quincy Jones, who was known for Ethiopia with We Are the World, is 227 days, which is the 49th prime number, and that's a confirmation, a second witness to this 4 days followed by 9 days. This gets this intermediate date of November 8th was the day that the nominations for this year's Grammy Awards were announced, including one for Jimmy Carter. All right, there'll be more to be said regarding all of this in another video, but this was also the day of Queen Beyonce's record 99 Oscar nominations, which is a confirmation of this 9 days. Also, she is obsessed with the number 4. She's known for that, and on with the number 4 regarding her. She's even got the Roman numeral 4 tattooed on her ring finger instead of wearing a wedding ring, as does her husband, for example. She also has an album named simply 4. All right. And also, her album this year is named Cowboy Carter, okay, which is obviously a hint at Jimmy Carter, 9 days later. This was also the day of the news of the hospitalized Israelis in Europe, in Amsterdam, that were attacked by a mob after a soccer game, and the news of the announcement from the FBI of the plot to assassinate Trump by Iran. That is because Carter is symbolic of the 444-day Iranian hostage crisis, which coincided with his final 444 days in office because of the 44th president being the Antichrist, and also Carter's symbolism for the Antichrist because of his actions in pressuring Israel into giving back land, which specifically is Gaza, pressuring Israel to give away God's promised land, a chunk of Gaza. And that's why the connection to Candace Owens, because of Queen Candace and the Ethiopian that Philip met in Gaza. All right, I think I've explained this now. So again, what we have here, this video, this 20 minutes or so explanation is explaining this date, November 4th, which was known ahead of time. And the prior part of the video you were watching explained how God led to November 4th. And now it's been explained how the signs on November 4th confirmed all of the analysis because of the king symbolism and revealed adding 13 days to get the date. It is predicted now that Jimmy Carter will die, which is the day also that Quincy Jones will receive posthumously his Oscar award, which, by the way, will be at the 67th Governor's Awards. And 67 in itself hints at 6 plus 7 equals 13, which is another confirmation of this 13 days connection. And again, it'll be because of Quincy Jones's 55 years in movies with music, and that's a confirmation of the 5 plus 5 days to the predicted death of Kamala Harris in St. Louis, which incidentally is a music city. It's known for its blues music, which is why, for example, the hockey team, which God has used in prophetic signs, is named the St. Louis Blues. Believe me, I know far better than you how the prediction made in this video was derived. And more importantly, I know far better than you why the righteous Christian God of the Bible has given me a voice through this prediction. If you are a quote-unquote Christian or Muslim, this prediction was not learned through a demon. Be warned that blaspheming the Holy Spirit is the unforgivable sin. If you are a New Ager or New Spirituality person, this prediction was not learned through somehow tapping into the supposed universal collective consciousness. If you are a conspiracy theorist, this prediction was not learned through figuring out a supposed code that the Illuminati and Satanists are using. This prediction was learned through the Bible and through watching carefully the Lord's prophetic signs, which Jesus commanded all Christians to do. Besides proving that Jesus Christ is the Lord, the reason why God has given me a voice through this prediction is to prove that the controversial things that I am saying in the videos on this channel are the truth. Therefore, a wise person will want to watch all of the videos on this channel. What I will also do is create a video or two that summarizes some of the controversial things that the Lord will prove to be true when the prediction being made in this video comes to pass. I will leave links to these must-watch videos in the description box below this video. Again, the purpose of this prediction, that is from God, is to prove these things that I will talk about. And therefore, it would be foolish to not watch the videos that I will leave links for in the description box below this video. Aliens and UFOs are demons masquerading as aliens and UFOs. Most people's spiritual experiences are demonic deception, especially if they are not a true follower of Christ. In the last days, many people who claim to be a follower of Christ will have spiritual experiences that are in reality demonic. God became a man and died a horrible death at the hand of the ruler of this world, Satan, and then defeated death for you, so that you too can overcome death, which is the price that must be paid for sin. It is time to repent, which means to change one's ways and turn to God and become a disciple of Jesus. Please leave a like and upvote the video, and once this prediction has come to pass, share this video with everyone you know, and more, don't stop sharing it everywhere in social media. It is essential that everyone immediately read the homepage of my website, TrumpPrediction.com. If you are watching this on the YouTube platform, please note that not all of the videos are on YouTube. You need to switch to the BitChute.com or the Odyssey.com channel. And do it now in case you aren't able to later.